Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm really excited for this one. I recently just completed this art piece and I'm kind of obsessed with it. I would like to preface this by saying this is a Love and Deep Space fan art, and it is also me practicing drawing this character. As if you guys follow me on any of my other social medias, Instagram or TikTok, you'll know that I am a big fan of Love and Deep Space. And I really want to, it's very important to me when I am drawing these characters that I really get their likeness. It's kind of the first media that I've enjoyed enough to draw fan art of that is 3D characters, like the characters aren't anime-esque. And it's actually caused a little bit of like an existential crisis for me, because before, when I was just drawing anime fan art, it didn't really matter to me that the characters didn't look exactly like how they're portrayed in the anime, because, you know, that's the artist's style. And I'm not about to try to be a duplicate of someone else's style. So I didn't mind having them look a little bit like, you know, how I would draw them. But now that this is my first media that's like, not real people, but it's a 3D and they're semi-realistic, I would say. If you don't know what they look like exactly, you will see in a second. But anyways, that leads me into, I would like to preface this by saying I did take a screenshot of a picture I took in the app. The app has a photo booth feature, and I took a screenshot of the character I needed in the position I needed, and I did some small like tracing lines around his nose, his eyebrows, his eyes, and his general face shape and his ear position. And I also, the hair was, I did it in sections and I did it a little bit more anime style, but I really kept true to like the sections of hair. So I just want to preface this by saying I'm not trying to pass this off as completely my own. This was a bit of an experiment to try to get myself drawing him more in his likeness. And also, I much prefer the rendering part of drawings lately. I don't know what about it, but lately I've had something about rendering that's drawn me more than the line art phase. And so anything that gets the line art phase out of the way quicker, I've been doing. And a lot of times that is mashing photos I've taken from the game, like screenshots, together to make a drawing like a concept that I like and then rendering it. So just want to preface that some people get a little like heated about tracing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as you preface it by saying it, and you don't try to credit it as your own, and it's a learning experience, which is exactly what this was. This was me doing my best to try and draw this character more like himself, because as he is my favorite character, I need him to look like himself. Anyways, with that all out of the way, let's get into this speed paint. I'm really happy about it. Trigger warning for flashing lights at the very end. I did a lot of filming TikToks at the very end, and the time-lapse recorded that. I'm going to try and cut out as much as I can, but if there might be some like intermittently sprinkled in there, and I just want y'all to know that there might be a little of that. But anyways, let's get right into this. Alright, and here we are starting off strong with a circle in the middle of my canvas to make sure I knew where I wanted his head to be. I had a pretty solid idea for this drawing, so a lot of it was me just trying to match the mental image I had. I took this picture in Glint Photo Booth. It is the default lighting. I didn't bother doing any sort of lighting. It is a feature they have in that photo booth part of the app, but I didn't really want to, because at the time I didn't really know what my lighting was going to be, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do it later. So that's exactly what I did. I also knew that his mouth was going to be open a little bit, so his jaw was going to be more relaxed. So that's why his jaw is not along the actual jaw of the model. And I also knew I wanted him to have more vampire aspects than he does. I was kind of sad that he didn't have a pointed ear in his model, because I feel like that's kind of a part of vampires. So, but whatever. As you can see, I tried to do the hand and I gave up, so I used my own. This is me trying to do the other hand and also giving up and hating it. As you can tell, it's not good. But this is me using my own hand because I just gave up. I was like, this is a perspective that I clearly am not capable of doing. So that's when my hands come in for the job. I love it. I also took a second to decide how I wanted to do his tongue, as you can see here. I decided to do just a normal human one because I didn't want it to be creepy, and I also didn't trust my rendering abilities to make the tongue look like stupid. So I just was like, I'm gonna do just a regular human one. Maybe in the future, if I draw him again, I'll probably do something a little bit more fun and creative, but alas. So this part, when I was doing the hair, oh my god, the hair was such a problem because I was thinking a little, before I actually ran into the problem, I was thinking about it. And the way I do hair, it's really hard when the hair is in like sections and it overlaps like this, the way I render it. So I was trying to be a little proactive here and separating it, and I ended up having like 7 different hair layers that are just like different strands because of how I render. And honestly, came in super helpful later when I did render. I had a feeling it would. But I'm really happy I did do that. It was just a lot when I was doing the flats. But yeah, I just kind of kept going. I didn't know exactly how to do the clothes, and we'll come back to the clothes later. I kind of skimped on those. Not even gonna lie about that. I did not fully render the clothes as good as they probably should have been. It worked out okay because of my lighting choice at the end. But I do kind of regret it because I kind of just got lazy, and then I just was like, meh. And I don't like that feeling about myself. So I should probably do some clothing studies coming up here. But his jacket, I think, is just so complicated. And I just was so overwhelmed by it. I did not feel like doing all the little details, but we'll get there. This is me rendering his skin. This was my favorite part. I was very, very proud of how his hand turned out specifically. I've really worked, and I know I've talked about this on other videos, but I've worked really hard to not overly render things. Sorry, not overly render, overly blend. I've tried really hard to not overly blend because human skin has natural texture, and I find a lot of art that has more of like a painterly brush usage and like painterly texture is much more appealing to me than the like super hyper blended like smooth skin. But that's just a personal preference, and I don't think anything is wrong with either way. I just personally like it when I can see more of the texture. I feel it looks more real. And ultimately, I am striving to have a more realistic style, so it matches what I want. I'm putting in some dark shadows here. When I was doing art like in school full time, one of the main critiques my teachers gave me was I never pushed my darks enough. And I do still believe that's quite true. And so every time I am rendering something that I feel is important that I show just how multifaceted it is, I really try to put in some dark colors. And often what I'll do is I'll be done putting the dark colors, and then I will add one more layer of dark color, like just for good measure. And I found that to be successful. I could probably still go farther. As you can see here, I actually decide to go farther after that first one, which I thought was going to be the last one I was going to do. I also find that highlight is really the cherry on top and really makes things pop. At this point, I was like happy with the skin render, but it still wasn't giving me the feeling I really wanted. And I find out later why that is. But at this point, I actually kind of took a break from this drawing because I just was like, as I was rendering the skin, I felt really proud and really good about it. And then I took a step back and I looked at it and I was like, it's not quite there yet, but I don't know why. And I actually ended up taking a break from it because I just couldn't figure it out. And it was kind of frustrating me. And nothing frustrates me more than a drawing that looks a certain way in my head and just isn't turning out that way in the moment. And it causes me to make a lot of drawings take a back seat. Let's just say that. So here I am doing his eyebrows. I found realistic eyebrows is just something that really pulls the face all together. I've done a lot of different ways of eyebrows, but I kind of settled on the way I do eyebrows now a while ago, and I've like never changed it because I've always found it really nice. I basically draw each individual strand is really what I do. Yeah, I do each individual strand, and I do all sorts of colors, the different hues and shades of the hair color, because I think it just really adds. Maybe real people don't have quite as many different colors in their eyebrows, but I really like adding different colors. I think it really pops, especially with silver-haired characters. Adding more like darker tones of gray, I think just adds so much to the volume and mass of their hair. This is me doing his hair. I honestly, it's so funny. I haven't done rendered hair in so long. I kind of forgot how to do it. And so the first strand is kind of me figuring out what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing here. Like, I render hair a bit, and I like rendering hair, but I took such a break from it, I completely forgot how I did it. So I'm kind of, for a little bit of this, it was me trying to remember how I do it. I think I do remember a little bit after a while, but I do, as you can see, I do end up going back through a lot of it to just make super sure that it looks how I like it. I also found that adding layers with basically black and having like a blending toggle on, or I think it's called a blending layer, turning the black into a blending layer was really helpful to make the hair look more 3D and have more depth. This is my absolute train wreck of trying to figure out how I want to render the clothes. At first I was like, it's so textured. It's hard to see in the screenshot because I kind of don't show the screenshot for very long, but the clothes he wears are so textured. You can see all of the like different weave patterns of the jacket, and I had no fucking idea how I wanted to do that. And it was kind of pissing me off that it wasn't looking the way I wanted. And so I kind of just ended up simplifying it, which again works out later because the lighting ends up not really showing too much of his jacket. But if this were like a full lit piece, I'm kind of disappointed in myself how quickly I gave up on the jacket. And this is me figuring out the lighting. It was quite a bit, as you can tell, lots of experimentation, lots of deepening shadows and making sure there's like the correct highlight and all that good stuff. Oh my god, the steam coming off of the cross was so difficult to figure out. And it wasn't because, as you can see, that absolute train wreck. And it wasn't because I was having a hard time getting it to look good. It was because I was like, I don't know what this would look like. Like, I couldn't picture what it would look like in my brain. I basically just closed my eyes and drew every rendition until one of them I opened my eyes and was like, yeah, sure, why not? Alright, and this is the finished piece. I'm, again, really happy with this. Honestly, I do believe this will be going in my portfolio. And if you can see, as you can see, the jacket did kind of work out for not being fully rendered. However, I do wish I had the patience to do it at the time. Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of person that goes back into old drawings to rework them. I would just rather make a new one. So I don't think I will ever be going back into this one to fix the clothes. So I'm a little disappointed in myself that I let the impatience of seeing a finished drawing stop me from giving my all to all parts of it. But that is just how it is, and again, it kind of works given the lighting situation. I'm sure professional artists or people who are critiquing my art are probably would notice those kinds of things. However, I feel for the average person who is looking at it to just enjoy the visuals, I feel it's not going to be a problem. So, you know, maybe it wouldn't be something I would submit for like a contest, but I am pretty happy with it. I'm very happy with the skin. I feel very confident in my skin rendering abilities, mostly because it is something I do a lot. And I've done a lot of it, and I've done a lot of work on working on it and just practicing and making it so I enjoy how I render skin. And I think fabric is going to have to be next because it's really lackluster. There's just so many intricate details on the jacket that I just did not capture. And I think it was a little bit of not trusting my abilities and being impatient to see a finished product, because the clothing is something I almost always do last. And maybe I should start doing it first, because I am almost always impatient to see a finished drawing. But enough of that doom and gloom. I love this piece. I love the lighting. I'm really happy with the concept. The concept was a prompt that I found on TikTok. If you would like to know all the more information about this, all of it is posted on my TikTok, and I do credit the original prompter. I do not know her handle off the top of my head. However, it is all credited on TikTok, and I did tag her. I felt really bad. I actually tagged her like 3 times because I posted 3 separate videos of this drawing, just 2 different music essentially. And I tagged her in all 3 of them because it felt weird to only tag her in one. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, she's probably so tired of seeing my fucking face. But anyways, that's this drawing. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, I am. I think the hair is really beautiful. I love his eyes. I love the steam. I think the steam coming from the light part to the dark part is really something that draws your eye. I'm really glad I decided to add the little like light sparkle things. I think light with just a beam is a little unrealistic. I think light has so many aspects to it that people don't notice in everyday life, but if you like look at it, it's kind of like those beautiful pictures of light coming through the forest. It's like while you're walking through the forest, you might not notice it, but if you take a picture and then look back at it later, you see all those little particles and little bugs sometimes, and sometimes pollen, and I just feel that it's never complete without a little bit more. But yeah, that's this drawing. I love this fan art, and I did post it on all of my socials if you would like to look at it in your own time. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy my intro / thumbnail picture. It has nothing to do with what we were talking about today, but I love it. So that's my cat. Anyways, yeah, that's all I have for you today. If you would like to see more of me, I have all my socials linked in my profile, in my bio. It is in a link tree. I'm also very active on Instagram and TikTok, and Twitch is probably my most active platform at the moment. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'm a variety streamer, so I stream all sorts of things, mostly games. I will very, very, very occasionally do art streams, but it is mostly gaming content, so if that floats your boat, then come on over there and hang out. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening and watching my video. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time, hopefully. I have a big journal of video ideas, so I'm very excited. I may put out a poll of what you guys would like to see next in terms of video content, so stay tuned for that. Okay, see ya later, guys. Bye-bye.